They're here. A bolt lock can't keep the paranormal out. This is an actual house of horrors, published by Dark Ghost Paranormal in April of 2021. As Russian paranormal investigator Dennis looks around the unsettling home, something appears to let itself in. Dennis backs off and shuts the door behind him, but that doesn't stop the unwelcome guest. After verifying that there's no one there, Dennis returns to his investigation. Close by, he hears a loud knock. Later, the wardrobe drawers open on their own. And what looks like a newspaper is shoved up from one of them. Then the wardrobe doors open, one at a time. The second one repeatedly swings open and shut. Dennis walks toward it, and there's nothing inside. Yet it continues to open and close. This occurs for several minutes. Later, he hears a noise. A bunch of racket draws him to this cupboard. It sounded like all the dishes inside it are jumping around. Opening the cupboard doors, he finds nothing out of place. He then hears another noise and finds a bag moving as it hangs on the wall like an animal trapped inside it. He takes the load from its hook and opens it, but again there's nothing inside. When he puts it back down on the bed, what is inhabiting this haunted home? Whatever it is, it lets itself in. Come here. Deanna Simpson lives in a notoriously haunted home in Hanover, Pennsylvania. She sees shadowy figures all the time and has even recorded strange voices that seem to materialize out of thin air, like this one. If you ever hear these ghosts tell you to come closer, don't listen. They apparently will try to possess you in a second, at least according to Deanna. But if you want to know precisely how haunted this house is, don't just take Deanna's word for it. You should ask Katie Kairos. The Fox News reporter was sent to cover the haunted home. As soon as they enter the house, one film crew member suddenly feels his wrists start to burn horribly. Deanna knew what had happened immediately and asked,
"Are you okay? Did you get scratched?"
He was behind the camera, but Simpson knew what had happened right away.
Oh my gosh.
He'd been scratched. Simpson says it's happened to her, her husband, and friends many times before.
Sure enough, there was, in fact, a fresh scratch on the inside of his arm. The cameraman later describes it as feeling like hot metal pressed against his skin. Deanna says this regularly happens to her and anyone else who enters the home. She says this was a warning shot from the ghost, but it could also be a possible possession attempt. She also claims to have been pushed down the stairs before. As the crew films, they see orbs coming from that area. Meanwhile, as strange lights and noises fill the home, Katie gets touched and pinched by unseen figures. Look at this quick clip of another possible shadow person in someone's basement, and tell me if you think it's real. If you think it's computer effects, please tell me precisely what clued you in. I see valid arguments on both sides. Two friends hear something significant running across the roof of their home, so one grabs a camera and bravely heads into the night. He scans the rooftop with his flashlight, and the beam floats across the oversized pink head of a wild creature with no fur.
Wait a minute. Hey!
He climbs onto the roof to better look at the beast, but it's gone when he gets up there. Little does he know that it is stalking him from an unseen vantage point the entire time.
Where did it go?
The crouching humanoid looks to be half the size of an average person. It regards him with cold, beady eyes that are low and close together like those of a wild animal. Zoom in, and you'll see that this is either CGI or a real creature. The skin is way too tight to be a mask. Many say this is the Rake, a pale mythological creature that attacks without warning. Let me know what you think this is, and if this person was moments away from being a goner. This child is learning how to play peekaboo when she loses her balance and topples over. When you take a closer look, you'll see that the girl's feet appear to be firmly planted on the ground the entire time. Upon closer inspection, it looks like she falls over unnaturally, almost like she's been shoved. There's now a fierce online debate about whether this child was pushed by an invisible force or merely fell over by accident. I know that kids don't have the best balance, so that she could have fallen over on her own, but the way she takes a couple of steps back also makes me think that something paranormal